I think as well, it can be tempting to rush this, but a step-by-step approach so that you've got an audit trail of what you're doing, very important.
And for people who don't know what a sandbox is, it's effectively a mirrored copy of your system in a non-live environment.
Treat your dashboards and reports as a living organism.
So it's just understanding that these are very powerful tools, but you've got to know what you're doing with them.
Yeah, you've got to get the right thinking into your CRM as well as the actual implementation.
I never know what you're going to say when I hit that record button. I sort of live on the edge of my seat.
I wanted to allay some of the viewers' fears.
Do they have fears?
Well, I think the fears maybe, there are a few comments about, I mentioned maybe last podcast about A5 Wagyu, talking about the fire pit, and then
the fire pit, and talked about the Wagyu.
Ethan said it was the best, the best meat he'd had other than the A5 Wagyu, and people think I'm losing my common touch. that I'm no longer a man of the people. I've got all Wagyu on him. So I thought, no, I just need to allay everyone's fears. I'm still a man of the people.
Right.
But this weekend I went to my son's fencing tournament.
Oh, incredible.
So, yeah.
You really are a man of the person. Was that on the way to Henley, by any chance? Or your tickets to Centre Court at Wimbledon?
No, far too common. So,
your fencing tournament?
Fencing tournament, yeah. So he got bronze medal.
Well done him.
So he did all right, actually.
Well, yeah. I mean, any sport or activity, you got me laughing there now. You're a man of the people.
So still, salt of the earth. That's me.
Right. Can I just warn people as well, watching the podcast, that a fly swat may make an appearance? Because as we sat down, I think this was a feature last week as well, a little fruit fly decided to start waddling around. And they're pesky difficult to see. Yeah, so we have a fly swat ready to go. Do you want to give the fly swat a little wave at the camera so we know what to expect? Stand by. Before we get too far into that, and before the fly comes back, should we start a podcast?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the SME Growth Podcast from Wellmeadow. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 130, another decade milestone. Hello, Rich.
Hello.
Here we are. Made it through another decade's worth of another 10 podcasts to get to 130. Not bad going, is it?
No.
It's been, 2.5 years now?
Probably,
That was about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2.5 years ago. And we're still doing it.
Quite a collection.
Fucking one a week. And even getting through holiday periods. And
someone was saying yesterday, different context, but saying about how they admired the consistency. It's another community group thing, but I'm like, that's how you get stuff done, isn't it? Consistency. Yeah. Every week, week in, week out, grind it out, and eventually.
You can't just sort of brush your teeth when you fancy it and expect the same results, can you?
No, I've got to go to the dentist tomorrow, so probably should brush my teeth then.
Touched on a sore.
Probably should
sore nerve there.
Brush my teeth.
Right, 130 then, what we're going to talk about. Oh, and also news, we had someone else contact us this week, having listened to several of our episodes. So thank you very much for the feedback they've given us and the opportunity to meet them, which is great. Good, so episode 130, we're going to talk about onboarding of software, or not onboarding of software. That's some of our
HubSpot horror stories.
HubSpot horror stories. Yeah, there's a headline.
That's the clickbait.
There's a clickbait headline. Yeah, good. So we'll talk a bit of that. But as we always do, let's just run through the last three episodes for our loyal listeners.
So episode 129 was on burnout.
Talking
about burnout and how that can creep up on business owners in particular. Yeah. It's the entrepreneurial attitude of pushing through and doing all that, which I've just said, you need to grind it out and be consistent. Within bounds. It was talking about looking for the warning signs, wasn't it?
Well, I love that quote about it's the canary in the coal mine, if you like. That if you are all suffering burnout, then maybe your org structure's wrong or your business model's wrong,
which is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good sign. There's no successful businesses aren't only successful when everybody is running around and stressing themselves. The well-run ones aren't. So, good sign, that one.
So that's 129. 128 was Trump, tariffs, taxes and tanks.
That wasn't clickbaity at all, was it? But that was the Roger Martin Fagg economic forecast episode. He's just issued his quarterly forecast dated in July with those topics, amongst others, included.
And then 127 was how healthy is your sales pipeline?
And that was triggered by some M&A discussions, acquisition discussions. Can we do due diligence on a pipeline?
Yeah.
And before you can get to that stage, how should you measure your pipeline anyway?
Yeah. What are the KPIs
Lots of good stuff there about sales velocity pipeline.
And we're doing a lot of stuff on that at the moment, aren't we? That's a big topic of Wellmeadow.
Yeah, and it's actually a good discipline. Unless you've got a bit of a picture to what the dashboards look like at the end, the output, then start with end in mind and everything. Hard to prioritise what you want. So that's very good. And do you have a bonus episode for us? Scraping the archives or anything?
Well, I did go through and find a load of HubSpot related episodes.
Given that this will be a HubSpot
related one, so it's quite a few. My favourite 108, dirty data. Dirty data. See, man of the people.
You haven't lost the touch.
Dirty data. Is it killing your business?
Yep.
One as well. We've been talking about a few manufacturers who are thinking about HubSpot. Mm-hmm. So 104, how to use HubSpot in a manufacturing business might be of interest. Yeah,
and I still see lots of manufacturers a bit nervous about the idea of investing in CRM software. They still think that their spreadsheet models are just keeping Outlook organised or whatever that does the job. But until you've seen the scope of what can be done with a modern CRM, it's hard to really appreciate what you're missing.
Okay. I think, maybe before we get into the meat and drink of this one, I've got to talk about the new toy of the week.
And I must blame you now for hoovering up loads of my time as I've started playing with
Toy of
the Week.
Base 44, which is an AI coding app, which I found last week, and a lot of other people have found it before me. I'm not some pioneer in this field, but found it, and it is amazing. Prompt it like you would prompt ChatGPT or something like that, and it creates the software for you. Right. Creates the code for you.
Before your very eyes.
So it's pretty incredible what
you
can do with it.
Last night I was up till way too late because I had an idea. I thought, I'll just test it on that. And sure enough, it started working. And with a bit of fine tuning today, I've got a finished app now.
Yeah.
I reckon it's taking me 40 prompts, because you pay per prompt on the app. It's taking me 40 prompts to get a pretty functional, useful piece of software with all the logins and members management.
Yeah. Well, I think I took a bit of our old IP around a strategy process.
Yeah.
Put that into it, gave it the prompts, took a little bit of jiggery pokery to get the post-it cards to move how I wanted them to move.
Yeah.
But other than that, pretty much came up with a really good strategic tool.
Different strategic projects on a grid, 2x2 grid, and you physically recreated that with post-its moving around a grid.
Yeah. So
and then wherever you put them, that has an impact.
That has an impact, and you can score that, and it gives you an average score, and and I've left it at that point, but it's actually really, I think that took probably 30 minutes all in, and that was with me doing other things in the background, coming back to check on, finished that iteration. I know I wanted to do this, come back, change it again.
Is it any surprise that Microsoft have laid off all those developers? That was in the news last week, wasn't it? Everywhere. It's crazy.
But I was talking to a company today about this, and I think though it's not just the fact that you can make the tool, I think it can change the way your organization thinks, because I think it would be amazing to do a strategy day where you give everybody £20, which gets you 100 credits, and put them in teams or put them as individuals. Probably teams would work better. Say, come up with a product that would help this business, a software product that would help this business.
Your salespeople or your operations people or anybody.
And then at the end of the day, we're going to have a look at who's done the best product. You wouldn't need a day, you need an hour probably. Who's done the best one, and whoever's get a prize. But I think it would unlock some really good thinking in the business.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to run a strategy like that, let me know.
I quite like the idea, that bit of a competition element to it as well.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that we're picking up on a lot, I was talking to a chap from a recruitment consultancy yesterday, who hopefully we will have as a guest in the next few weeks, but asking him what the market's looking like for recruitment in various areas. And it's pretty tough out there. It's pretty tough. There's still, earlier in the year, everybody had frozen their recruitment. Well, that's thawing a bit now, but sector by sector, it's very different. And the one area that is really seeing a marked downturn is marketing. He said the whole of the marketing market is on its arse, he said. It's very difficult to now place marketing people, and more of them are becoming available. So we've said this before, it's sad and unfortunate, because there is great value in having in-house marketing people, but you've really got to understand the role of marketing and not just do whatever before you did that can now be easily replaced by AI. So if you just you were used to knocking out, Common Garden blogs and simple graphics, then there's no space for that. You've got to think much more strategically.
Yep, exactly.
But also all the junior roles now in accountancies and consultancies and law firms, there's a slowdown of recruiting in these junior roles.
Yeah.
Because all that grunt work of research and spreadsheet analysis or whatever junior people used to do is now being automated. Pretty scary. Right, so today's topics then. HubSpot horror stories. Are we prepared to share any reasons as to why we chose this topic today?
Well, there's been a few things crop up recently around onboardings and various things that we thought just makes some interesting discussion, maybe a few tips for people to think about avoiding.
Well, I think we're all guilty of this. You get a telly, you unbox it. The last thing you're going to do is open the manual because everyone knows how a telly works, right? You just start pushing buttons and setting up the channels and doing what you do. And similarly with pretty much anything these days, you don't read the instructions for a phone or your new MacBook or whatever. You just get on with it, right?
Yeah.
And I think the problem is we carry that philosophy across to complex software products like HubSpot, but it will be the same for Salesforce or anything else you're using. Some of these other apps that people use in their daily lives at work. And I guess engineers are the worst at this as well because they feel that it should be well enough designed that I don't need instruction books.
Yeah.
I should just know which button to push. And I must admit, all of them, we've said before, haven't we, the HubSpot is not bad. The user interface is good. There's a big orange button on every page to make it quite clear what you're supposed to be doing. However, lots of business people, for very well-meaning reasons, say, I've spent enough on the software. I don't want to now go and spend some time on external experts, in inverted commas, to show me how to use it. I'll just push some buttons and see what happens.
Yeah.
And, okay, if you're prepared to put the time in, that can work. But we've seen lots of occasions where it hasn't. So we thought we'd just surface some of those by way of
I think as
warnings.
well, it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, is when you get business leaders that don't take the time to learn. I mean, if the CRM, something like HubSpot or Salesforce, whatever you're using, is so key to how your business is going to grow, that if you don't take the time to learn how to use it, I think it's almost borderline negligent.
It is. Well, it's certainly wasteful, if not negligent.
Because
what's the point? I use the analogy. Buy yourself, choose your chosen favorite sports car brand, insert here, buy a nice big Lamborghini or something, and then don't even get a driving license. Just sit there and look at it. What's the point of investing loads of money in your business? Why would you buy a big laser cutting machine or 5-axis milling machine or printing press or whatever and not use it? It's crazy, isn't it? Just have it sat in the corner to show off that you've got one.
I think there's an authentic leadership type of piece in there as well, but there's also just you've got to understand if you're thinking of trying to get the data out of it to make the decisions, the dashboards around it, which is a major thing that we're focusing on at the moment. How do you help people make decisions through CRM? But if you're not prepared to get in there and just see how this thing works, then why should anybody else? You're not going to spot those opportunities. So it's a
tool really designed for every level of the business, from the people at the front line delivering value and speaking to customers, or producing product for customers, right through to an owner or MD, CEO of a business to get a good view of what's going on. It can cover all the different areas. So if you don't even log in, what's that telling the rest of your team? As to your point, it's crazy. So we've put together a bit of a top 10. We need that music that you used to get on Radio 1's chart show, didn't we? We do the countdown. Broadcast radio, he says.
Broadcast radio. What is that?
Anyway, we'll skip over that point. I don't think they'll put it in. They know what it is. We did our charts, and we start with sort of some of the worst horror stories. The big one is a story that I came up to my attention a month or so ago, and the people involved will know who they are, but will remain nameless for what will become obvious reasons. But in setting up CRMs, there's this really powerful facility to be able to log your emails from within your email client, whether that be Outlook or Gmail or whatever. And then the thread gets forever continually saved against whatever contacts, companies, deals and opportunities, that type of thing, which is great. You just got to be careful with it, and you've got to choose what default settings you give it. And if you default to saving all message and turn the ones you don't want saved off, that's fine, as long as you remember to do it. And you could do it the other way around, where you default to no messages being saved and check the ones that you want to save. That can also work. They both have risks. So we came across a company that had chosen the former route to try and just capture everything, save them thinking about it. But they then went through a bit of an episode where they were potentially going through a redundancy process. And the MD and HR director were in discussions with their lawyer.
Yep.
And even though they had the setting which says don't save internal emails, because it had been sent to and from the external lawyer, that didn't trigger. So all these emails were being saved in their CRM against the lawyer's name, and the person who was at risk of redundancy was able to read all of these in the CRM prior to their consultation meeting. And I'll let you guess how that went. Oh, to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
What an absolute own goal.
Did the lawyer switch sides at that point?
Well, yeah, if you get any sense.
I just saw the writing on the wall there. Sorry.
Jeepers, yeah. So, I mean, such a simple little thing. Effectively, it was a tick in the wrong box, or a lack of a tick in a box, or whatever. And more fundamentally, a lack of an understanding from the business owners about what they were doing. You know, they wouldn't have dared leave those confidential emails printed out on their desk for interested parties to read as they walk past. And yes, if they did even more than that.
No, I've seen it as well, where people, as I'm sure we all do, have personal stuff coming in on your email address just because one inbox.
Well, you had a client do that, didn't you? Default to this, and you read way more than you should have done.
There was all sorts of personal stuff in the CRM.
Yeah,
that probably shouldn't have been in there.
So it's just understanding that these are very powerful tools, but you've got to know what you're doing with them. I think that's probably my single number one biggest howler that I've come up with in implementing a CRM, and that was a bit of a big one.
Yeah.
So go on then, let's go down. So we've compiled a bit of a list, haven't we, of various different problems that we've found. So,
yep. So not getting things like GDPR consent set up properly. So technically, you're sending all your emails out.
It's very tempting when companies set up the CRM, just say, "Oh, don't bother turning that setting on. We'll just do it anyway." Well, unfortunately, you can't. You're not allowed to do that these days.
And it can make a bit of a, for the design purists out there, your forms and things can start to look a little bit clunky if you've got all these GDPR tick boxes and things sitting next to them, consent notices and everything else. But
and to be fair, the GDPR rules are written pretty widely, and legitimate consent is useful in nearly all cases for being able to do what we want to do anyway, as long as you record it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point, that GDPR allows you to do this as long as you've made a conscious decision to say, I'm going to give myself permission to contact this person without their consent because I have a legitimate interest to do so, and then you define it. And that's all you have to do. But the lack of doing that exposes you to all sorts of risk. So GDPR ones for sure. Import errors.
Yep.
Oh boy, how many times have we had to have this chat with people who think that migrating data across from, let's say, spreadsheets or other systems, that's the easy bit. I mean, couldn't be further from the truth, could it?
Yep.
You've spent sometimes days unwinding problems like that, haven't you?
Yeah. No, it's back to the old dirty data. Dirty data. But it's I'm not sure what accent that was. Side note, I have got really into speaking in a South African accent recently.
Have you been talking to a South African?
I have actually. I have.
And it's rubbed off?
It's maybe rubbed off, but me and Mrs. Buckle will often spend entire evenings.
Which could be quite offensive then for anybody listening who's got a real South African accent.
It's quite a good, I like it. It's a good accent.
I don't think I've heard it. I'm not inviting you to demonstrate it.
All right. But that's a good accent. I don't know what it is. Something about it. Just you own every word. But anyway.
Okay.
That aside, I don't know how I got
it just came out of nowhere.
I don't know where that came from. Talking about dirty data, that was it, bad accent, dirty data. No, so I think it's a major thing. Getting the data right when you're importing into a CRM is, it's one of those tasks where I think people, like you say, think that it's just in a spreadsheet. You can just upload it.
Yeah. It's obviously going to be there.
It's obviously, and you've got all sorts of things, especially when people dump out of their address book, and you've got all sorts of different, Chinese takeaway, football coach or whatever,
family
members, but also things that aren't formatted properly, things that don't link up, and also people don't really think about, well, what else could we do before we import that might be really useful and a lot easier to update in a spreadsheet than dumping straight into
it's easier to categorize a whole load of rows in a spreadsheet with an industry segment, or use. There's some great tools actually if you've not used them with these online spreadsheets, whether using Sheets from Google or even the online Excel version. That there's plugins that use the AI, the ChatGPT AI, as a function. So if you've got 1,000 rows all with company details on it, just put a function at the end saying, look up the industry sector of this company name, and then copy that down 1,000 times, and within a couple of seconds you've got it all there. So it's easier to do that in a spreadsheet.
Yeah, and I think as well what you can tend to find is if it goes wrong, so HubSpot's really good on the data import if there's no field there, or if it's corrupt, or it's whatever, it's not mapped properly, that type of thing, it will pick all those up. But then you can end up with just multiple imports. And so you've got to kind of
lose track.
You're trying to lose track,
and you might end up with duplications, or people who've got phone numbers but no email addresses. People who work for companies that they know, or are listed for companies they no longer work for, and you've not managed that.
I think as well it can be tempting to rush this, but a step by step approach, so that you've got an audit trail of what you're doing. Very important. Good
point. Very good. Sandboxes. Now, not everybody will need or even will have a sandbox.
Yeah.
But as the company gets a bit larger, and we're dealing with one at the moment, aren't we, with sort of 20 or 30 users in a big organisation, absolutely essential that you've got some sort of sandbox. And for people who don't know what a sandbox is, it's effectively a mirrored copy of your system in a non-live environment. So you can use it for training, for sure, because people can push buttons and delete stuff and it doesn't matter. But from our point of view, it's mainly used for staging changes.
Yeah.
So you can put a change in there, test that it works, and when it does, release it into production. Now, a lot of people using these basic systems won't do that. They'll just make the change in the live system. And you can sort of explain and get away with it on a small scale. But you only have to get caught out once, and you really find yourself in a lot of hot water. So people not understanding that, or even just how to make change control, or how to name the various things that you're creating, whether they be the automations or the objects and the properties and stuff. Give it a naming convention.
Exactly. If I was South African, I'd say, you don't want to go crashing around like a big bull elephant in your CRM. It's coming on.
Who are you, and what have you done with Richard?
It's coming on. I'm getting it down. Anyway, moving on.
And this isn't AI, folks. If you think that Richard's put some sort of AI filter, give me another accent.
RI.
Richard Intelligence. Is that a thing?
It's an oxymoron, really, isn't it?
Go on, move on. Pick another one.
Email deliverability.
Easy for you
settings.
to say.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
So this is where, and we do actually get to see this quite a bit. I've set my marketing email out. I've gone to send it. It won't send to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's probably because you haven't set GDPR settings, which we talked about previously. So it's not going to send it. HubSpot's got a fail-safe on that type of thing. And also, HubSpot, like any other CRM, is probably going to try and their business model is around helping you, manage your contacts and your CRM. So they normally will be a trigger. So in HubSpot, it'll be marketing contacts. If you haven't set someone as a marketing contact, it won't send the email. They will also not send emails to people who it thinks maybe aren't going to be engaging with your content. If they're previously not open, that type of thing.
If they haven't got a subscription.
So there's a number of reasons why that, just on that level, or it may just be that you've not configured your inbox properly.
And that's important because when you connect the outbox, the email sending out server, if you like, you've got to do something that's, these things are just letters, random letters for people who are not in the know of all this stuff. But the SPF settings, the DKM, IM settings, and the DMARC settings, they're all designed to tell other email servers that you're legitimate. And there's kind of an accreditation, if you like, to say my email is legit, not spam. And if you don't have those, then more and more of your emails, even if the system will send them, are more likely to get marked as spam at the other end. So you've got to do that. And even check your emails back to that import bit. You can check them in bulk. Or there's plenty of services online that will charge you 1/10 of a cent per email or something. It's worth spending a few tens of dollars just to run all your emails through one of these checkers. And it can query other email servers to see if they're going to bounce the email. So basic email health settings if you're going to run an email. E-commerce, we've had this problem before, haven't we? Where we've integrated e-commerce platforms, existing e-commerce platforms, but the settings have it's not been set up correctly when we inherit it, and you end up either with duplications of orders or invoices or whatever, or missing ones, or the wrong data being connected to what. And trying to unpick this stuff can be a devil of a job once it's in there. So really understanding how e-commerce integrates with HubSpot. It is actually remarkably easy to do when you know the right things.
Yeah.
But one slip and you end up with all these things you can't delete very easily.
Yep.
Bit of a pain.
Permissions. This is one of the things, user permissions. This is one of those things that you have in an onboarding plan for about half an hour. Should we set the permissions up?
Yeah, and no one wants to talk about it.
Well, they either don't want to talk about it or they want to spend 6 hours talking about, well, who should have access to what, and we haven't really thought about this before.
Well, have you not come across where everybody says, well, just for now, why don't you put everybody as super admin? Because then we've all got everything. While we're learning the system, wink, wink. And of course, they never turn it off again, which means those people can not only delete the whole account or change a setting that suddenly costs you a few extra $1,000 that you didn't expect, but they can download contact data and deal data. Well, if anyone was looking to leave and be naughty with that, then you're letting them do it. They can delete a load of data. I mean,
sign you up to a new contract.
So, yeah, exactly. Who would do that, eh?
Who would?
Well, to be fair, we've had to bring up HubSpot a few times on behalf of clients, haven't we, to get them to unwind billing increases because they've been done by people who don't, in theory, have authority.
And in fairness, I would say they've been pretty good about that, haven't they?
They haven't, yeah. You can't abuse it. That's good. And the other thing about that is the teams. That if you're setting up permissions with teams, you've got to understand who are the teams to start with. And we've got a particular client at the moment, which is a large group of companies, and they're using one massive portal with lots of different teams within it. Well, imagine if you get that wrong. If you just onboard a new user in one of the group companies and you don't put them in the right team, or even any team, they could see the data across multitudes of companies. Yeah. Well, that may or may not be desirable, depending on what your business model is.
Yep.
So, that's a biggie.
Yep. I think some of these are really start with the end in mind outside of HubSpot, isn't it? Design what you need. Yeah. Before you start building. Like you wouldn't build a house without having some plans, right? Yeah, and yet people do want to just throw up the walls and then worry about the foundations later. Yeah. And don't just put everybody in super admin. In fact, as a rule, try to only have one super admin and maybe a backup if they're on holiday. Yeah. Rather than just giving it to everybody. Good. Next one would be just one deal pipeline. So everything gets stuffed into one pipeline. Even with that pipeline, I find that people, once in a rush to just get going, they say, well, we just want to put some orders in there. Let's just have one quick pipeline, and it's only got 2 or 3 stages in it. It basically says opportunity identified, quote sent, won or lost. That's it. Yeah. And you say, well, isn't there a bit more nuance to that? Don't you do some other things in the process? No, it's not. So you just put this in. And then you come to try and report on the progress of deals going through the pipeline. Of course, you've got no resolution. Yeah. It's either there or it's not, which is a bit binary. Yeah. But then some other people will go to the other extreme and they come up with 20 stages in their pipeline because they try and map every single little event that happens, even if it's only someone just approving something. And then you end up with a very bloated system in one pipeline. Yeah, if you've got quite a few businesses will have different products or services with different sales cycles, so it's worth having a pipeline. Yeah, if the process is different, or it's got different access for different people, or different type of product. But a lot of it you can do in one pipeline with filters, but if it's a different process, you can't. You need a different pipeline. Lead scoring. That's quite important. Otherwise, where do you start when you get new inquiries or new visitors come to the website, new people downloading assets or responding to emails? You're just treating everyone as an individual. And if you're in one of those types of businesses with lots of traffic, of visitors, maybe especially B2C businesses, you need some help here. You can't just interrogate every single one. And I think as well, one of the things you see with lead scoring is, because it is a very good tool in HubSpot, it's a good way of being able to aggregate somebody's engagement with your website and on your content, and then see whether or not they're ready for moving on to a sales qualified position. But there's a temptation to just start putting in scores rather than actually, again, step back, think about what the customer journey is, think about what points you should assign to different assets, bits of content, engagement levels, all of that, and then come back into HubSpot and put that in. And then test it. Put it through, see if that makes sense when it scores some of the people you know about. So. Workflows or automations, depending on what your system calls them. The amount of times you see people putting a load of effort into creating one and then don't turn it on. Yeah. Or turn it on but don't allow
appropriate re-enrollments. So whereas a contact or a deal or a company has to go through it again, it can't, it fails.
Yep.
Or some of the steps you've gone have been upgraded to a different function and you've not kept an eye on it. Or there's just so many things that you just need to keep an eye on these things.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then you may be assuming that various processes are happening and they've just fallen over.
Yep.
Now, I'm surprised this other one we didn't put higher up the list. Website tracking.
Mm.
I mean, how easy is that?
Yeah.
If 90% of businesses are running on WordPress websites, it's what, a 1 minute job?
Yep.
To install the HubSpot plugin for WordPress, job done. Everything works from there on.
Yeah.
And people don't do it.
I know a lot of rich information from that.
Even if you're not that interested in, well, I don't know what you wouldn't be interested in, but you get so much with it. The visitors that fill in the forms, you see which other pages they visited. You can put forms that populate the data straight away. Or even the buyer intent page. Find out which companies are visiting your site for free. You know, people pay a fortune for lead forensics that does that. You get it out of the box.
Well, not even what companies are visiting your site, what companies are searching for your products.
Yeah.
Online or your services online. Research intent.
Yeah, exactly. Key people not being added. You know, no names, new Pactrol. We're having a discussion not that long ago, weren't we? Where someone who was very senior in a business and had made the decision to put HubSpot in a pretty big business, and they had a user ID but had never logged in. And had no idea it was going. They presumed that it was just a bit of a low-level tool for those people in marketing and maybe sales. Didn't realize that actually this strategically used in the board could be a key way of having vision as to whether the business is on track and getting market feedback, you know, which deals we're winning and losing and why, and whether, is it the big deals, the small deals, this product, that product, what's the average time spent in various stages, what's our sales velocity, are we going to hit our targets and are we going to do our revenue, all these really important questions that you'd want to ask your board, and they hadn't even logged in. Let's have a look at it.
I think it drives a lot of culture change as well, which again has got to come from the top.
Yeah.
But you can, a CRM can drive real positive culture change done properly.
Yeah, managed by fact, isn't it? Openness, breaking down silos in an organisation, linking everything you go to market from marketing right through to cash.
So again, it's that back to that point of leaders need to be engaged with the CRM.
Yeah. Go on, give us a couple more just to continue the theme. I think we're probably getting the message across to people that unless you're prepared to think about all these things, it might be worth asking someone who knows. But go on, what's another one?
Things like Outlook and Gmail plugins not installed.
Yeah.
Again, another really powerful tool. Easy
almost
to
as
install.
essential as the software itself, if you think about it. Because everyone lives in either Outlook or Gmail. That's where your calendar and your emails and maybe your to-dos.
Well, I had a meeting with a prospect this week, and having shown them the entirety of, well, not entirety, but a lot of HubSpot functionality, the main thing they were really excited about was the fact that emails can come in from Outlook.
Yeah. I mean,
it's so simple.
It's first day stuff, right?
But it's really powerful.
I suppose it's you don't know what you don't know. If you've not been shown that, you don't realise that that's what the system was set up to do, which backs into training really generally. I mean, we've got a bit of a thing that people should take some responsibility for their own awareness of stuff and, look up on YouTube for things or ask ChatGPT or Google about it. But we need to have some degree of training just to make people aware of what it's for and why we're doing it. Yeah. And as we said before, it's not about beating up salespeople because you haven't done these activities. It's about lifting the lid on the art of the possible and giving salespeople a fantastic tool to help them do their job. Go on, pick one to end on.
Pick one. Dashboards and reports never configured.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, imagine if we show some of our example dashboards, don't we, to business owners, and they say, "Oh my goodness, if only I had that for that business." Well, it's not that difficult to have that. You just got to make sure that the systems around it collect the right data and put it in, and then use it in the right forums, in a board meeting, in a sales review meeting, in a management meeting. But yeah, they just put up with bog standard, they put up with mediocre. They don't challenge. When they see a graph, they don't really see any use for it. It doesn't pass the so what test. What am I going to do with that number then? They just live with it. They think, well, that's what the system does. Well, it doesn't. There's just so much you can do.
I think treat your dashboards and reports as a living organism.
Yeah.
It's not some static, even though the data's maybe changing on a graph, time period, etc. It's not some static.
Yeah.
Keep asking questions, keep challenging, keep evolving it, keep moving it forward. That way it becomes so integral into the business. You start asking all these other questions. What's going on? What's that mean? Dig into this. Who's responsible for that? It just brings the whole thing to life, which is what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to be some static wallpaper that you look
No,
at.
it's got to be living, and ideally put them on a touchscreen on the wall and use your finger to move deals around or update stuff or whatever. Good. And I suppose just as a closing thought, if anybody thinks that we've chosen this week purely for self-serving reasons to say you need to engage Wellmeadow, you don't have to engage outsiders if you don't want to at all. But what we're saying is onboard your software properly. If you've got someone internally that can train themselves up, maybe get a bit of advice. We've got ebooks online. You can do that. Our website's covered with tips, and I'm sure ChatGPT will give you a pretty good onboarding plan to do yourself if you're prepared to devote the resources internally to do it. Just be aware of the costs of doing that if you're going to spend 6 months for someone to learn and not get on with it, and you can accelerate that if you do use people that have got that experience already. So by all means ring us up or other people to do this for you, but you can do it yourself, but don't think it's for free. Don't spend 90% of your budget on the software and don't imagine you're going to be spending a reasonable amount on expertise to set it up.
Yeah, and it's not the spend, it's the opportunity cost as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to get the right thinking into your CRM as well as the actual implementation.
Yeah, it's having that clear view at the beginning that if we're going to do this, we're going to do it properly. We're going to pay for some software and we're going to learn how to use it properly, not just put it in the corner and then moan about it 6 months later.
We should do a podcast series on our 6-box model. What's that, I hear you say?
What's that, Rich? Google it. Wellmeadow, 6-box model. Learn what you need to know. That's another podcast waiting to be recorded. Very good. Thanks a lot. That's very good. Yep. Excellent. Episode 130, another one in the can. Thank you very much for listening as well. That's another contribution to the world of SME businesses for owners and managers. Hopefully you found some of that useful. Pick some bones out of it. And as we will say, if there's some other episodes or this one that you feel that some of your colleagues might be interested in, please tell them about it. Pass it on in an email or show them on your phone when you're next in the pub. Say, these are pretty interesting. Have a listen to these. And in the meantime, good luck with your business.